Hi and welcome, Lisa here for Whimsy Stamps. Thanks for joining me for another card video. So today I'm sharing 3 ways to use edger and border dies. Now I have a few tips and samples I want to share with you along the way. Plus I'm going to make 5 cards during this video. So to get started, I'm going to use the fish and mouse border dies and I'm going to do hot foiling. Now I have a piece of 4¼ by 5½ inch white cardstock laid down, and I'm going to use purple tape to hold this fishbone die in place, and I'm going to let that act as a hinge. Now I'm going to go ahead and flip the die up, add my strip of foil down, shiny side up. Then go ahead and lay the die back down. Then we're going to take all of this to the hot foiling machine and flip it over so that the die is directly to the heat. Press the button. Now once that stops flashing, it's ready. I'm going to lay the cover plates on top, remove the platform, and then slowly run it through my machine. Return the platform back to the base. Carefully remove that die. It's hot. And here's what we have. Now, here are the borders that I used to create 3 panels. The fishbone. And then with the heart, I did 3 different colors of foil, pink, turquoise, and gold. And then with the little mouse border, I used a copper color. Now, if you don't have a hot foil machine, don't worry. Just run the die through your die cutting machine and place the foil behind it. I used regular Scotch tape that most of us use for gift wrapping to hold that to the back of the card panel. So real quick, I want to show you how to create 3 easy, clean, and simple cards using these panels. Now I'm using the Catitude stamp set along with VersaFine Clair inks in the colors Warm Breeze, Pinecone, and Glamorous to stamp the cats and the sentiments. I'm going to run these through my scan and cut, but you could fussy cut them if you needed to. Now we're going to add mounting foam to the back of each of the panels and then go ahead and center those up on a card base. I'm using a chocolate card base and a aqua color card base and then a white one. You could use any colors you wanted. A little bit of mounting foam to the back of the cats and the sentiment, and then go ahead and arrange them on the cards. Now, if you don't want all this dimension, by all means, use some liquid adhesive to add your panels and your cat and sentiments. So next up, I want to talk a little bit about the edger dies. Now, I love these dies. They add a nice subtle touch to your card. Sometimes we need just a little something extra, and these dies will give you that little something extra. So the straight edger dies have 2 designs divided by a solid line. And you can see here, if you lay this on a piece of paper and you run it through your die cut machine, this will be the result that you get. You're going to get 2 embossed designs, and then it's going to cut that straight line. So maybe you just want to emboss with one of the designs. So just take your cardstock, you're going to butt it up to that solid line, and then run it through your machine. And that way it's only going to emboss one of those designs on the very edge of your cardstock. So you're going to be able to see in this photo, the embossed stitch stars added a subtle touch to the card that it really needed. And now I hadn't planned on showing the steps to assemble the shaker card, but then I decided I wanted to because I share a pretty cool tip on creating the shakers that might help someone out. So real quick, I'm using a 4¼ by 5½ inch card base. I've cut a piece of pattern paper to 4 inches by 5¼ inches. And I'm going to go ahead, add some adhesive to the back of that with my tape runner and then center it up on my card base. Now I did run that embossed panel through my die cutting machine with the stitched star from the primitive shaker dies to create the window. I held on to that cutout star. So I went ahead and also added a piece of acetate to the back of this panel to close that window up. So we're going to go ahead and take the cutout star, add some repositionable tape to the back of it, and then we're just going to line it up on the back side of our panel here, lay it on our card exactly where we want it, and then press down. Now, the static from that acetate held the star in place, but you might have to hold your shape wherever you need it. But the repositionable tape is going to hold it in place on your card base while you work around it. So I've heard a lot of people talking about using an extra piece of acetate to close their shaker up. So it's a see-through shaker. But this is a great way to save on your acetate. So once you have your star or any shape in the position that you want it, go ahead and lay down your mounting foam. Now I did 2 layers and I leave about 1/16 of an inch between my die cut shape and where I'm putting my foam. That way I don't have to worry about seeing any of that foam once I go ahead and position everything and close up the shaker. So I added some adhesive to the edge of the panel. I've poured my sequins into the star on my card base. I'm going to remove the release paper and then I'm going to go ahead and position the panel over the star. To finish this card off, I die cut the large happy word with black cardstock and stamped the graduation sentiment and added those to the front of the card. So next up, I have the wavy edger die here. Now I've cut a piece of white cardstock so you can see what this die does. I love the scalloped edges along with the waviness of it, and I have a really fun tip to share with you using this wavy die. So let's hop into it. Now I have these 3 cupcakes colored from the Calorie Schmallory stamp set that I'm going to use on the card. I'm using my Misty for this. It just makes things much easier, but any stamp positioning tool you have will work. I place my card base in the Misty along with that die cut to serve as a temporary guide so I can place that wavy edger die down. Now, you'll know when the die is in place because you can feel it catch. So I go ahead, add some repositionable tape to the die, close the lid, and then pick that die up with the lid. So at this point, we're going to go ahead and remove this die cut panel. We're going to use some either purple tape or painter's tape, whatever you have, to secure the ends of the die to the lid of the Misty or whatever stamp positioning tool you're using. Now we're going to use this die as a guide to stamp a sentiment, bring on the cupcakes across my card base. It's going to give us perfect placement each time we stamp. So I'm going to use VersaFine Clair Pinecone ink for the first row. Now for me, spacing is very easy because I cut my stamp between the words the and cupcakes, and I pick the first part of the sentiment up and then place it at the end of the word cupcakes and just keep repeating that process. Now don't worry, you don't need to cut your stamps. Use a small piece of tape to mark your placement and then move your stamp. Now, if I do it that way, I put the tape on the top outer part of the Misty lid and then go ahead and arrange my stamp as I need it. So I'm using Catherine Puller Inks Pink Champagne and Shea Butter to stamp the rest of the sentiments following that wavy edge. And I went ahead and I stamped my main sentiment there in the bottom left corner of that die cut panel with Pinecone ink. I added mounting foam to the back of that panel, added it to my card base and some liquid adhesive to the back of these cupcakes. And I'm going to go ahead and stack those on my card. So to finish this off, I'm going to come in with a few enamel dots. I absolutely love using my dies as a guide for stamping. You can get perfect placement each time along those wavy edge dies doing it that way. Okay, so I do believe that's going to bring us to the end of this video. 5 cards that we just created, all of them very easy to do. So let me know what you think about the techniques I've shared with you today. Also, we would love to see how you're using your Whimsy stamp products. So hop over to the Facebook page and show us your projects in the Whimsy Stamps and Inspiration Facebook group. I really appreciate you joining me today. I hope you'll click the subscribe button and ring the bell to be notified of new content to the channel. Please feel free to share this video with your crafty friends. Now, for more information about the products used, head over to the Whimsy Stamps website, and I really hope you have an amazing day.